What's up, y'all? It's Haley, aka OG Haley on Instagram. So I asked my Instagram followers what kind of video you guys wanted to see from me next, which is this video. And the most popular response that I got was a postpartum update, a how I knew I was in labor, and how is life with a newborn. So I'm going to cover all those in this video. I'm going to start off with how I knew I was in labor. So on December 7th, I was having really bad contractions that day, and the whole day they were 1 minute apart. So at like 3, I decided to go to the doctor or the emergency room to see if I was in labor because my contractions were 1 minute apart and they were consistent. So I went and they checked my cervix and they told me that I was only 1 centimeter dilated, and I was like, I know they're gonna send me home because every time that somebody's only 1 centimeter or like not progressing, they send them home. So I was like, I really don't want to go all the way home because I live 30 minutes away, and if something happens, I'm gonna have to drive all the way back, right? So she's like, okay, so I'm gonna ask my manager that's on call right now if we can admit you because you are having contractions. And I was like, okay. So she comes back and she's like, she said since we have too many people in labor and delivery today and you're not progressing, that we have to send you home. And I was like, girl, I'm not going home. I'm just kidding. But then she was like, or you could walk around the hospital for an hour and we'll see if you progress, and if you do, then we'll admit you. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I was walking around the hospital for about 30 minutes, and then I felt like this huge, like, something just come out of me. And I was like, what was that? So I went to the bathroom, and it was my mucus plug. Mucus plug is like what holds the cervix from the baby coming out. It's like a huge thing of mucus, so like the baby doesn't get infections and stuff. And when that comes out, you're basically gonna go into labor like within either a few days, a few hours, whatever. So yeah, so my mucus plug falls out, and so I continue walking for the next 30 minutes, and then I go back and I was like, I think my mucus plug fell out. She's like, yep, that's definitely your mucus plug. And yeah, so she's like, let's check your cervix again, and if you progress, then we could probably keep you. And I was like, okay. So she checks my cervix, and she said I was a 2 or a 3 centimeters dilated, which I was like, bet, because I've been stuck at a 1 for like a week. So yeah, so she checks and she's like, you're a 2 or 3, and then she's like, let me go ask if we could keep you. And I was like, okay. So she goes to ask again, and she's like, she said we can't admit you until you're 4 centimeters dilated. And I was like, girl, you just said that if I was progressed any further, that you would keep me. Like, I was in so much pain. And she's like, no. So basically, all she told me is go home, and if my water breaks or my contractions get stronger, to come back. Even though my contractions were already strong. Like, what? So I go home and I go to sleep, and I was having contractions all night. So I wake up at December 8th, and I literally could not get out of bed that day. Like, I could not get out of bed. So around 11 a.m. I get up to go to the bathroom, and I go pee, and as I'm pulling my pants up, I feel like this huge gush of water, and I was like, is that pee or did my water just break? So I FaceTime Jaden, and I'm like, I think my water's breaking right now. And I show him, and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm on my way, because he was at work. So he comes in like 2 minutes, and we have all the hospital bags and stuff in the car. And so we go to the hospital, and they admit me to the triage room, and they're like, we're going to check your cervix, even though you were here yesterday, welcome back. And I'm like, yeah, see, I told you I was going to be in labor. So they checked my cervix, and I was a 5. So I went from a 1 the day before, a 1 to a 3, and then a 3 to a 5 in 1 day, 2 days. So yeah, so she's like, we're going to admit you. So they put me into the labor and delivery room, and then they had got my IV and stuff all hooked up. But when they did the IV, she did it on this hand, and she did it 2 times in this hand, and she kept blowing the vein out. So like the vein kept going out like this, and she's like, yeah, we're gonna try it on this hand. And people who've had a baby, they know that IV freaking hurts in your hand. That shit hurts. So she did it 2 times in this hand, and then she did it in this hand, and then she was like, oh, I blew out the vein again. And I was like, girl, you better not pull that needle out. Like, that shit hurts. You're not pulling that shit out, so you better fix it with it in there. So she's like, okay, we'll try the test run to see if I feel it in my arm, like the fluid. So she does that, and I feel it, and the vein is like literally popping out. And she's like, well, if that doesn't go down, we're gonna have to do it again. And then when she put the fluid in, it went down. So I was like, oh, good. So she's like, do you want the epidural right now, or do you want to wait? And I'm like, well, my contractions aren't that bad. Well, they were pretty bad, but like not to a point where I like can't walk or like talk or anything. So I was like, I'll just wait. So then 30 minutes or an hour, 45, an hour, somewhere around there, she comes back and she's like, do you want me to check your cervix? And I was like, yeah, check my cervix. So she checks it and I'm about a 6 or a 7 dilated. And she's like, are you sure you don't want the epidural right now? And I was like, well, how long does it take? And she's like, well, we have to do fluids first. We have to get you started on fluids. So you have to do that 30 minutes before you get it. I was like, okay, just order the epidural now. And then so you could like so he has time to come up and stuff. So she orders it and she does like the fluids through my arm and stuff. And then she comes back like, I want to say like 45 minutes later, and she's like, so the epidural guy is down there with an emergency C-section. And I was like, my contractions were starting to get bad. So I was like, girl, what the heck? And then she was like, but we can get you a dose of fentanyl. And I was like, oh, isn't that the shit that kills people? And she's like, yeah, but it's just a tiny dose, like a little tiny dose. So I was like, okay, fine. So she comes back in and she gives me the fentanyl. And oh my gosh, I was feeling so good. Like, I was floating. Like, everybody was making me mad, like, before I got it. And then once I got it, I was like, hey, y'all. But yeah, but it wore off in like 20 minutes. So I was like, really? So then I'm like, the contractions started to get really bad. Not really, really bad, like where I can't really, really tolerate it. But I didn't want to wait so long that I couldn't get the epidural and that I would have to deliver the baby without an epidural, because I didn't want to feel like the baby coming out, because I was like scared that I was going to feel everything. So she comes back and she's like, as the guy was on his way up to my room, he got another emergency C-section. He had to go. So he goes back downstairs, and he was there for like 30 minutes, and I'm over here in pain. So the doctor comes back in, and she's like, I'm going to give you another dose of fentanyl until he gets here. And I was like, okay, good, because I was in pain. So she gives it to me, and everything was good. She checks my cervix, and I was a 9. So already a 9 centimeters. So he finally comes up and gives me the epidural. And for everybody that told me, was scaring me and told me that shit hurts, that shit does not even hurt. My sister, right before I was getting the epidural, she's like, my back's permanently messed up from the epidural. And I'm over there like, about to get the epidural. Like, why would you tell me that? Like, why would you tell me that right before I'm about to get it? But at this point, I was just like, I don't care. I'm tired and I need energy to push. So just give me the epidural. Yeah, so honestly, in my opinion, the IV hurt more than the epidural, but that's just me. I don't know about other people, because a lot of people were telling me, like, it's the worst pain ever. It's going to hurt so bad. But it really didn't hurt. It was just like a little pinch. And then, like, you feel like the fluid's going in your back, but that's it. So, yeah. So, after the epidural, they had me laying on the peanut ball thing because the baby was too far up. And they told me that if I was all the way dilated and the baby was still up there, that I couldn't push the baby out. And I was like, girl, I'm not about to have a C-section, so you better get this baby down. Okay? So, yeah. So, I was on the peanut ball 30 minutes on my left side and then 30 minutes on my right side. And then when they put the chair up, so I was like sitting straight up. And then they came to check me again, and I was all the way dilated, 10 centimeters. So, they bring the doctor in, and I started pushing at 10 p.m. So, I got there at 11 a.m. and I started pushing at 10 p.m. And then I was pushing for 55 minutes, and he was born at 10:55. And yeah, he's the most beautiful little human I've ever seen in my life. I feel like everybody says it about their kids, but like, honestly, it's true. Like, once you have a kid, like, it's like the most perfect thing ever. So yeah, I had the baby at 10:55, and since they gave me the fentanyl, the 2 doses of fentanyl, it put the baby in distress when he was in me. So when he was coming out, he pooped. Like, they're not supposed to make their first poop until they get out of the womb. And he pooped inside of me. So when he came out, he had poop all over him. And it was, like, gross, but, like, it was gross. But, yeah. So, yeah. And then he had a fever of 101 when he was born because of the fentanyl. And I felt bad because, like, I told them to give me the fentanyl, even though they offered me. But they didn't tell me that it was going to, like, make the baby do anything to the baby. But then they were like, yeah, it could be because of the fentanyl. And I was like, if you would have told me that, I would have not got it, girl. Okay. But yeah, so the next thing you guys wanted me to talk about was life with the newborn. How is life with the newborn, and how do you adjust to being a mom in the first few days? So honestly, life with a newborn is so exhausting. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it or lie on here. Like, it is very exhausting, especially the first few days, especially in the hospital. The first few days, because the doctors are coming in and out like every 30 minutes, and you're trying to like sleep and like feed the baby, and they're just like constantly coming in and just like, really, no. But yeah, so it's really exhausting. But once you're out of the hospital and you're home in your own bed and stuff, it's kind of more, it's easier. Not easy, but like easier than being in the hospital, because yeah. And yeah, so you kind of adjust to it pretty fast. Honestly, I did. I don't know about other people, but I had a lot of emotions the first like 2 days. So I was like sad, happy, mad. I don't even know. It was just crazy emotions. But yeah, life with a newborn is very fun. Being a mom is very fun. Very tiring, but very fun. And I love it so much. Yeah. And you guys wanted to see a postpartum update, and I made that video yesterday. So I'm going to put that in now. So yeah. This is my 3 weeks postpartum stomach. I still have like the line, and it's still like flabby. But 3 weeks postpartum. Someone told me I look like a referee in this shirt, so that's cute. Can you burp? Can you burp for me? I love you. Mood.